Hi everybody, welcome to Caketastic Cakes. It's Jen and I'm going to show you today how to make Fairy Cat from Gabby's Dollhouse out of gum paste. And if you see me using any tools or supplies that you could use, if you check the link in the description below, it should be able to help you out. Okay, I'm going to begin by making her head, her giant, enormous head. Out of all the cats, you probably have heard me complain about this before, about how preschool cartoon characters have little tiny bodies, enormous heads. I think proportion-wise, she might be the biggest in difference with the head and body size. So I made a giant, enormous ball and put it aside. I took some light pink gum paste and just rolled it out kind of thin, but not too thin. I wanted to have a little bit of structure to it. Cut it loosely, as you saw, using my circle cutter there, and then shape it kind of into a triangle. I want it to be very soft, not too sharp, and still a decent size, because hers are kind of big, honestly, compared to some of the other cats. So as you see, I had it flat on the bottom, and then I used my circle cutter to cut it at an angle. So now the ears will stick up out of the head, not to the side out of the head. They'll go upwards, but they'll fit the curve of the head. And when you attach them with a little bit of water, make sure you leave a little bit of space in between, because we have to put her little flower crown thing that she wears as well. Okay, now we're going to fill in her ears. I went ahead and attached them to her head, but fortunately I had just done it. So when I rolled out my, what color was this? This was rose, very thin, cut out some loose triangles again out of it, filling in the hollow that I had made with my ball tool earlier. And I'm just put a little bit of water in, trim off any extra that sticks off the bottom, smooth it out to your edges, but make sure you leave that nice border there. Stick them back on the head, or you could, just do all the ears first and then put them on the head instead of taking them on and off. All right, I made 2 deep eye sockets. As you see, they're very centered and they're not very big. She has kind of small eyes compared to some of her buddies. I'm putting a black ball of gum paste into each one. I had filled them with white gum paste, as you see. I'm just flattening out, being very, very careful to make sure there's plenty of white still showing around the black in the center. I've got some black gum paste that I rolled out super duper thin just between my fingers and cut little nips off of to make her 2 eyelashes. And now I am adding 1 little tiny ball of white gum paste to each eye to make the little highlights. Now her eyes are kind of green, and they're kind of like the other cats where they seem very dark, but there is a little hint of color in there if you look at it just right. So I took some green gum paste and just cut a little teeny tiny sliver. You can see I just placed it there at the bottom of her eye, and I'm using the back of my paintbrush to press it into place just to follow the curve of the black part of her eye. I'm doing the same thing on the other side. So now if you catch her just right in the light, you will see her eyes are actually a little smidge of green. I'm adding the same rose colored as before to make her little nose. It's just kind of in a tulip shape, I guess. It's rounded at the bottom and then has 3 little loops at the top. I just drew with my edible food coloring marker a mouth, just a typical little kitty mouth, and I'm using some pink shimmer. It's dry on a paintbrush there to just give her a little blush of her cheeks, a little bit under each eye. And now we are going to move on to her body. Okay, I have some green gum paste. I like the size of it there. It's too long, so I'm going to trim off the extra at the bottom. And when I'm happy with the size of it, I put it through a lollipop stick. And now I'm going to start on the skirt. I have some very, very, very light green that I left thick in the center, and I'm kind of pulling out almost like an umbrella shape, a tutu shape even, if you want. And I stuck the hole in of the lollipop stick through it, so now I have my center point, and I rolled it thinner, as you saw with my rolling pin there. And I'm now just pinching and pulling, trying to make it nice and even, but I want it to definitely be thicker in the center and then come out and become thinner. I'm using a piece of my lollipop stick, and I'm using the blade of my knife to make indentations all around. You start from the center and go straight out toward the edge, so you get a nice effect to make kind of the ruffling or tooling or whatever you want to call it that her skirt seems to have. And I'm going to keep going. I'm going to be really heavy with it, give it lots of marks, because I know it is going to lose some of that effect later on. Now I added some water to the skirt. I pressed the 2 together. And in order to hold it in place, I'm wrapping underneath of my lollipop stick there with a piece of paper towel that I wrapped up with a piece of tape. And then I stuck the whole thing in my wonderful, very helpful block of styrofoam. So now the skirt is being supported. It's going to dry flared out. I'm going to go back now to make her flowers on her crown and her dress. I have circles, as you see, of a light yellow, and I'm just using the sharp pointy end of my veining tool to press in to separate out 5 flower petals. For some reason that was a tongue twister for me. And I just kept doing it. This is all freehand because I didn't have any flower cutters small enough. I made one white one, and I filled each one with a little ball of orange. So now I am going to put my one yellow flower there in the center of her dress, and I'm going to have the others saved for her crown. But first I need to make the leaves. I realized she had leaves behind the flowers, so I want to do those first. So what I did was I took some green gum paste and I rolled it out pretty darn thin, punched out some very small circles, and I just pinched off one end to make a bunch of teardrop shapes or leaf shapes maybe. Yep. I put one line down the center of them with my knife blade to make, like, you know, a veining effect. And now I'm going to stick them on her head. I have 2 on each ear, as you see. I've got the 2 at the bottom coming out and down, the other 2 heading up the side of her ear. I'm going to put 2 more. Oh, that one fell off. Pretend it stayed on. I'll fix it though. I have 2 standing up in the center of the space between her ears. Remember, we had to leave that space. And I put 1 more in the center pointing downward. Now I need something to support the flower, so I put just a little kind of tic-tac shape, hot dog shape of gum paste in the center. I put the 2 yellow flowers on first, and then I add the white one to the center. And it's going to overlap a little bit just because of the spacing and everything, but who cares? She looks cute, right? Not too bad. I was actually really liking her. Sometimes they just come out so nice. All right, I'm going to make some more leaves now for her dress. I've got the same color green as before, made big circles this time and cut them in half, and I'm just kind of smushing it to make a triangle shape, basically. Kind of flattening, smushing, shaping to make a bunch of little triangles, and because it's kind of mushed, I have to trim the back ends of them to make them flat so it'll go up against the bodice of her dress. I'm putting the one line down the center to make it look more leaf-like, and I'm going to add some water all around the edge of the dress, and then I'm going to start placing my little half leaves there. I'm going to put the flat edge, like I'd mentioned before, up against the bodice, and I stuck the one there and then realized I wanted to center one first underneath the flower to kind of make it look a little more even. So I just shove it over a little bit, put the one under the flower, and then just start building from there. I just start sticking them on, match them up end to end, and work my way all around the entire dress. And when I get to the back, I had to kind of hand make one to make it fit, but you put it all together and it's super adorable, which is exactly what we're going for. These are going to be her little arms now. She's got little sausagey arms. So as you saw, I just rolled out some pink. I have it real thin there where it connects with the body, and the idea is that they're going to dry kind of with her arms flared out. So I put a little piece of rolled up paper towel there, as you see I'm doing in the side, underneath each arm, just kind of almost like a ballet pose, really. So yeah, there you go. Okay, now I'm going to make her wings. I am going to just freehand on some white gum paste that I rolled really thin with my X-Acto knife here. Just a pair of butterfly wings, Tinkerbell wings, fairy wings, whatever you want to call them, dragonfly wings even. So I did 2 on each side, and I realized, and I'm going to tell you guys, to make them individually, because when they dry like this and you attach them, they look adorable. And then when you try to put her enormous head on top, her enormous head presses down on your wings and then ends up cracking them. Not good. Okay, now I have taken the lollipop stick out of her body. As you saw, I put some pink gum paste on it, the same pink as her body, or as her head and her arms. I'm pinching it off because it was too fat. I'm going to trim it off with my knife on the back. You've seen me do this before with different things, especially spaghetti with the whiskers on these kitties. And I'm going to stick it back in and leave it alone. I'm going to leave everything alone. Everything is setting up and drying. You see how I have all my pieces just sitting there? She's tricky. You got to leave her alone. She's got to dry. That leg is going to support all the weight. So while that is going on, I'm making the tail. I rolled out a pink strand, as you see on the counter. And I'm making a teardrop, I can't talk today, shape out of my rose-colored gum paste. And I'm cutting a little cross in the top, as you see, and then kind of flaring it out. I'm making basically a flower bud out of it. I use my knife blade to make lines down the sides to make it look like the petals are coming together. Cut off both ends, so both ends are nice and flat. And then I'm going to add a little bit of water and then stick it on. And it's like, oh, that totally is going to fall off. And yes, it will. That's right. Very good. So I just leave it there. It's got to dry. Everything about her has to dry in sections. Now that her leg has had some time, her arms have had some time, how cute, right? She's standing on her one leg. The tail is able to curve up and go underneath her dress. I'm going to make another leg, same as before, just rolled out a sausage of pink. It's too long, trim it off. I'm going to have this leg kind of kicking out to the side, so I'm going to attach it to the bottom edge of her skirt. You can see right there, yes, there you could see how it was kind of kicked out to the side more. I've got to fix it because it kept drooping, so I ended up putting some paper towels under it to support it. Paper towels are your friends sometimes. Now that her wings have had time to set, I'm just using a food coloring marker to draw a couple of flower buds with 3 dots above them in pink. The bottom wing gets green swirls and then a little bit of a green swirl on the top because I don't watch the show and it looked like there might be some on there. And yeah, the wings. Okay, now to attach the wings, I have a ball of white gum paste, nice soft gum paste on the back, add a little bit of water, stick my wings on there, and right now it's like, oh, everything is going so well. It's adorable, right? She looks good. However, it's not going to last. So even though it looks really cute, oh, that leg fell. Hold it back out. There you go. Even though that looks really cute, here it comes. Here comes the destruction of the wings. Put her enormous melon on there and put her little tail underneath. And you think everything is good, but it's not. You see the wing is lower now. I had to fix it. It broke, it cracked, and I had to glue it back into place with some more balls of gum paste. Speaking of balls of gum paste, I took 2 pieces of white gum paste that were kind of dried and crackly, and I'm going to use them for her dandelion puffs. I don't have a way of creating the stems of her antenna, so I just put them on there instead. So it's safer this way, no wires, so no one gets hurt, but it's still cute. So I hope you found this video helpful. Please like and subscribe because, once again, that really does help me out. I've got a ton of other videos out there to take a look at, as well as a bunch of the other cats from Gabby's Dollhouse. And as always, thank you for watching Caketastic Cakes.